Welcome to the Third Tuesday Conversation, the ELCA Youth Ministry Network's monthly podcast. Our goal is to engage in conversations affirming that youth ministry looks a million different ways in a million different places and with a million different experiences. I'm Alex LaChapelle coming to you from Marquette, Michigan, all the way up in the Upper Peninsula.
Boom, 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 boom. It's Veronica, your friend Veronica from Philadelphia. And who am I passing it to? Jess. Hey, Jess.
Hey, this is Jessica Newton coming to you from the Houston area. And today, let me introduce our guest. We're very excited about this. Dr. Dee Stokes. She is a spiritual leader, advisor, executive coach, preacher, entrepreneur, educator, author, coach, and church planter. She wears lots of hats, friends. She serves as overseer and lead pastor of Teen Church, which is a global network of house churches that serve, do good, and love their neighbors. Bishop Stokes is also president and CEO of Dee Stokes Ministries, a nonprofit cross-cultural ministry, and she owns a consulting firm that specializes in leadership development at all levels in all areas of society. With 30 years of experience, every level of education, Bishop Stokes is just about serving God in the marketplace and the church. She has a wealth of knowledge. A number of degrees are in sociology, public administration, biblical and theological foundations, as well as educational leadership. Her research is fascinating, you guys. It includes cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence, burnout, transformational leadership, unconscious bias, and spousal responsibility. All right. Well, we're very excited to be recording live from the Extravaganza in St. Louis, and especially lucky to be here with Dr. Dee Stokes. You just heard a little intro about her and all the awesome things that she is putting out into the world. But today we're going to really focus in on one part of the ministry that you are a part of, and that's around cultural intelligence. So can you tell us, Dr. Stokes, what is cultural intelligence?
Well, first of all, thank you, Jessica, and all of you for having me today. So cultural intelligence is the ability to be effective in intercultural settings. Not so much to be successful. Notice I didn't use the term good, bad, but effective. And effective can mean a lot of things, but you don't even have to step outside your home or go to another country to be in an intercultural setting. Or some people use the term diverse. I stay away from diverse because in America, we think diversity is just black and white. But culture is everything. Culture, culture includes ethnicity, but it's language, it's the way we dress, it's the music we listen to, what we eat. And so when I teach on cultural intelligence, I really emphasize that it's everything that we do. It's everything that we are. It's religion. It's everything. It's not just ethnicity.
Yeah, I live in Houston, but I grew up in San Antonio, and I remember one summer we were doing camp with churches from different parts of the state. And when and I won't say the town because I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but from one small town in Texas, and they had a very distinctive accent. There was definitely cultural things that I was like, where are y'all from? Right away, you're noticing even within a few hours of living with each other in the same state that there's different, culture shows up in different ways.
Yes, and it can shock you. And I don't know what small town that was, but I used to live in Bryan College Station. So I worked.
And that is a culture. That is a culture.
It is a culture. I worked at Texas A&M for a couple of years and back in the 90s. And that seems like a long time ago, I know. But yes, so I love I love culture. And the Lord gave that desire to me when I first started traveling to other countries.
Okay.
And so I chuckle at people because who are uncomfortable with culture, because I recognize culture everywhere. I can step in a room and recognize culture. I like to tell churches when I do cultural intelligence training that that your church may not be multi-ethnic, but it's multicultural.
Yes.
Because you can look alike, we can look the same, but still have different culture. And when I do workshops online or however I do the workshops, I'll ask different people how they were brought up and things that they tried to hide about their culture. And some people will say language. Some people will say, well, I didn't want to tell people I was from Podunk, wherever. Or, I'm ashamed of where I grew up. I'm ashamed of my family. I'm ashamed of this, that, and the other. And it all has to do with culture. And so I truly believe that if we would understand people's culture, we really would get along better. We really would be able to love our neighbor better.
Well, it seems like we'd be able to call into effect the understanding that if it's somebody talking to us, that there's probably something about us that separates us just as much as it combines us. You're saying don't say diverse or diversity because it brings up this image of color. And like as a kid of color in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod school system, that was always the definer. That's the thing we talked about, even though there was probably economic conversations, different family setups, things like that. But if people say like, what's the separation? It was so quick to be like, well, if it's culture, it's Alex, it looks different than all the rest of us. We are what he is not.
Yeah.
But yet it's like, actually, there's probably some similarities in here and here and here. I still remember when I found out like Jason Rickoff, he's not listening, is the
I hope
is the only other person in my grade who didn't have like a father that was participating in the day-to-day living. And it was like, that was like this new connection point. All of you go home and see mom and dad. Jason and I, we don't talk to our fathers. We have never seen our father. We don't know our fathers. And it was like, this is cool. Not cool, but interesting to like connect with. So I guess I wonder how then do we teach that? Because no one ever stopped us and said, stop seeing the obvious and look deeper. But how do we introduce that?
Well, it's interesting because if you go to places like New York, where it's very ethnic, but they're very different ethnicities, but yet they still grow up in the same neighborhood and become brothers and sisters. And so when they leave that, and I'm just choosing New York as it just came to my mind, it happens in other places as well. But when they leave that neighborhood, they're looking for that family type thing, right? And so they go to other places. I'll just name Houston. I don't know why, because I'm looking at you, but Houston, or they come to North Carolina, or they go to Minnesota, or wherever, right? And they don't find that, but yet they're still looking for that. And so those are the types of people I think we can learn from. How do we become family or stay family, even though we have so many differences? We have more alike than we do difference, right? Yeah. We all bleed the same. We all came from the same place, right? I always like to say that God is so smart. Now he's all knowing, yes. But God is so smart. He made like 5 noses, 3 mouths, only a few color of eyes. And it's interesting because, and I've traveled the world, so I'll see someone and I'll say, I know that nose from somewhere, right? That mouth looks like somebody, you talk just like somebody I've seen before. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's always fascinating for me because, again, I love to see that in people. And it just goes back to show that when God created us, he created us all alike.
Yeah. I would say I see that too, even in my urban church, is that even though most of the people are what you would say African American, there's a noticeable difference between the cultures of people who come from the Caribbean, from the Caribbean islands, and then we have people from Africa, from Ghana, from Senegal, from South Africa, and it makes for such a rich experience that we can share. We recently had a group with some young adults who came from Trinidad and Tobago, and just them coming up and sharing songs that they sang while on the island and sharing that and being so happy about that cultural exchange, it really helps the church feel richer and just more beautifully layered. So I agree that even when it looks on the outside like everybody is the same, it's those experiences and those exchanges that make our faith more beautiful and our churches more beautiful.
Sure. One of the things that I've noticed even lately, and I always say this, that diversity of all kinds is really positive, right? Not just ethnic diversity, but geographic diversity, different thoughts. Like we don't all have the same thoughts and opinions. That's important. And so one of the things, I'm expanding my ministry this year with business leaders. I've dealt with business leaders and entrepreneurs since 2020, but I'm expanding my ministry and I'm convening peer groups of business leaders. Well, something that's really come up in my conversations with these folks is they ask, because mine are going to be virtual, so they ask me, well, is it only people from North Carolina? Is it only people from here? I said, no, that's the beauty of it. It's going to be geographically diverse. So they don't want to just meet people in their little kingdoms, if you will, right? They want to meet people all over the world. And I plan, hopefully, to have people from all over the world in these peer groups encouraging one another and being lifted up and being poured into spiritually and professionally and personally. So
I love that. So the work I do is working with congregations and church leaders, and there's a process that we do in cohorts, and it used to be in person. Then COVID hit, and we had to recalibrate, and everything moved online. But what happened in that is that, we used to do this geographically. So we would work with a synod, and so it'd be all the churches in that synod, and we'd go there and all that kind of stuff. When we did online, well, then anyone could sign up, any church. And so we would have these cohorts of people online learning together from, all over. And one cohort that we had a couple of years ago, you would think they would have nothing in common because it was this huge North Dakota church that had 3 pastors, and this very tiny Canadian rural church that their pastor was literally a part-time farmer. And you would think that like the big church, right, would be like, oh, we don't have anything to learn from you. But man, that group was so fun. I got to be in all their learning in year 2 of this 3-year process. And I mean, they just were back and forth with the ideas and sharing. And then there was like a sudden death in one of the congregations, and both, the other church was like caring for that church that experienced the death. And, you would think culturally, right, that there'd be nothing for them to learn from each other. And yet it was so, fruitful being in that space with them and learning together, right? They were both wanting and curious and in that learner mindset.
True.
So I wonder what made you want to start working with churches around cultural intelligence?
Well, when I first started, I worked with anybody. I worked with colleges and universities. I've been in higher ed for over 30 years, and I've worked with athletic departments. I used to be a Division I basketball coach. I've worked with students. I even worked with a medical team one time as well. So I've worked with tons of people, but I tell people I'm the cultural intelligence guru. Like, I love this stuff. Like, I think it's really important. God has given me a passion for it. I'll do workshops anywhere because I can sit in my office, which is a studio, and do them. And so I just love doing it. Yeah.
And so somebody's coming to this conference. This is their first year, and maybe they have 20 hours a week at a church, and they're going to listen to you talk. What's something for that beginner, youth worker, pastor to kind of start this conversation? Because I know if I took this conversation to my council, I'm just getting a lot of blank stares, and I'm going to have to be the big talker for the first 5-10 minutes of like, this is why this is important. This is why we're doing it. What are some phrases or what are some questions that they could have locked and loaded to kind of get this off the ground, especially because I live in Michigan in that UP, which is, I think, culturally identified as like emotionless. But also I think it's that space where you go, cool, they're going to also hear like so this is kind of liberal stuff, right? And I'm like, actually, I don't think it is. I think you're thinking multicultural in the sense of like, you're trying to diversify us. Don't use that word, right?
Right.
What are some things to kind of start that conversation
Yeah.
in some of those places where...
So a couple of things. First of all, there's 4 capabilities or the 4-fold model for cultural intelligence. And so it's strategy, knowledge, drive, and action, right? So first you must have a knowledge of culture, just even a general knowledge that you're in a cultural setting, right? Which, believe it or not, people will walk in rooms and have no clue that they're in an intercultural setting, right? And that's hard to believe, but it is so. And then your drive, like what is your motivation? Why are you in the setting? What do you want to accomplish? And then a strategy as to how you're going to accomplish what you're going to accomplish. And then what are your actions? How will you actually change your actions to fit into that setting? And that's the real issue, is that most people don't want to change their actions. They want to just stay the same. I wrote a blog one time, and it's actually in my book that I wrote on cultural competence as well. And it's called, somebody gave me an idea for this. It's called Cultural Intelligence, a Spiritual Discipline of Relinquishment. So what am I willing to relinquish about my culture?
Yeah.
Right? So that I can be effective. Remember, let's go back to the definition. In intercultural settings, most people now are not willing to relinquish. They want you to relinquish.
Yes.
They want you to fit into my stuff, right? I want you. But listen, if we're really going to be kingdom people, then we should be willing to relinquish something. I want to go to the other thing you said about expressiveness, because expressiveness is a cultural value. There are 10 cultural values, and expressiveness is one of them, neutral or affective. And I always say when I teach this, that we as Black people, we are expressive, and y'all have problems with it. Some people have problems with it and don't really understand it. And then there are other people, they're the frozen chosen, that, I go somewhere and preach to the frozen chosen, and I'm thinking, these people are dead. They haven't heard anything that I've said. And then somebody inevitably walks up to me at the end with tears in their eyes, talking about how they were touched by the message. And so I use that all the time. And I had a pastor come up to me and thank me because he was one of those people who were emotionless. And he says, you don't understand how many times people have come up to me with something negative to say. And so when I do these kind of polar opposites in terms of cultural values, I tell people it's not right or wrong. Now, you can prefer one over the other, but I'm just telling you this is how people are universally, and we need to understand that. That's the whole point.
Well, it's right. It's like having that learner mindset, right? Being open to saying, maybe I don't know all the things. Maybe my worldview isn't the only worldview.
Perhaps.
Yeah, and one of the things that we do to help, because really, churches, Veronica's, what did I do? Why are you laughing so hard?
Veronica's trying to live.
I'm sorry,
Veronica. For her life over
Veronica's got a little cough, but we have her quarantined to the corner. So one of, in churches, right? A congregation is a culture, right? And a lot of times when new people come, it's like, well, no, you are now joining us and have to conform to our culture.
Assimilate. I hate that word.
That, and they may not say that.
What would you use instead?
Accommodate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Assimilate says dress like me, talk like me, smell like me, sing like me, clap like me, do everything like me. Accommodate says I'm going to accept you even if you don't do that.
I like these.
Every church that I've been in there's been an assimilation team.
Yes.
Let us teach you the rules that you can't find on the walls.
Because this is our culture, right? So there's an organizational culture piece as well, right? And it's very similar to just regular culture. So you don't,
Well, even, right, I don't work in the congregation as a youth minister anymore, but for sure, right, youth groups and children's ministries and all, they have their own culture as well. And, right, how are you intentionally creating that culture of welcome, of accommodating, of, really understanding each other. So I started to say this and then we got sidetracked, but one of the things we do when we work with a congregation at the very beginning is do this exercise called the worldview exercise. And we have them talk about basically, right, life experiences that have shaped their worldview, right? So how have I experienced death? And some people, well, gosh, my grandparents, that's the only, and then, the person who deals with dead people all the time because they're an ER doctor, right? It was just like, oh, right, we have some different worldviews because of that, right? And I think it brings a level of understanding, right, when we can have conversations about universal things, right, but maybe our experiences are not actually universal, right? Because all of that shapes, I would say, right, your cultural intelligence. Am I?
Yeah, so one of the things you have to do is, one, you have to understand your own cultural intelligence, and then understand others' cultural intelligence. You actually can test your cultural intelligence. There is an assessment, right?
I love
see
this. Okay.
in the 4 areas where you are. You might be motivated, but you might not have a clue about other cultures, or you might not have a good strategy, or you might not want to be able to change your actions, right? So you can be assessed on your cultural intelligence, which is very helpful. For someone like me who has traveled a lot, I've been to every state but one. I'm trying to get to Montana, but it's never a good season to go to Montana, right? It's either too cold or too crowded. And I've been all over the world. I've been to several countries. So I look at culture as a blessing, and I look for culture so that I can understand it better.
Yeah.
But not everyone does. So, yeah.
Yeah. This is so fun. I love this. And I'm so many thoughts in my head. I can't contain them.
And I guess I'm still trying to wonder, when this conversation happens with kids and youth, where do we start in that conversation? Like, I know you're like, I really love this. I think I really like this. But when I start talking to kids, if I start using those words, I feel like, especially in a confirmation or a youth group, I might be pulling them into, are you doing school with us? Like, shut down. Versus, what are the phrases to make it more accessible? Or am I just not putting enough credit to kids to have this conversation?
Well, you're probably not putting enough credit because, to be honest, because kids are actually smarter than we are.
What?
And kids are actually more in tune, I think, with others than we are as adults. Now, I'm older than y'all, but I think children today, kids, youth today, are very accommodating. And I think they understand other people even better than we did as children, and maybe better than we do as adults. And so I think using these simplified, the terms that I've used actually are simplified. When I did my research, I wrote a little paper called Dissertation on this. And when I did my research, the operational terms were a lot harder to understand. Yeah. So they simplified them as knowledge, drive, strategy, action. So to me, those are real simple words to say, okay, what do we know? If you're in a setting with youth, what do you know about this person? What do you know about Jessica? Okay. What do you know about her culture? What do you know about her family, her language? What do you know what kind of music she likes to listen to? What's her favorite food?
I know that her daughter raises pigs.
No, not the pig.
I knew you were going to bring up the pig.
I'm going to give $50 to that pig raising dollar.
I did. I went online.
And then what is your motivation? Well, I don't know. What is your motivation to even be in this youth group? Right? To even be among these people. What is your motivation? And then what is your strategy to get to know Jessica better? And then what kind of actions will you take with her? And with any, you can use anybody in the group. So I think you could, utilize this with youth very easily.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. And I think that youth would be more open to experimenting with those things. Because depending on where your church is located, you could have kids from many different high schools, many different backgrounds, depending on how far they travel. and to be able to share it and set those boundaries between sharing your culture and then, laughing at someone or, making fun of them. But, how do we respect each other's culture, but also have a wonder about it? And I think that's what, God wants us to do, is to wonder. It breaks down barriers to say, I wonder, how did your mom make spaghetti? How does your mom make spaghetti? You can ask every single person and they'll say something different. They say, oh, my mom cooks the meat first and then she puts the sauce in and then she does the noodles. They say, what? My mom does the noodles first and then we don't eat ground beef. We have lamb with our spaghetti. What? Well, my mom put bacon and we bake our spaghetti and that's how we eat it, like a casserole. I mean, it's so many different ways that you could introduce this to youth, where you could use the things you listed and then utilize your book, and you're going to talk a little bit about your book.
Yeah.
And utilize that to get these children to lead the path. But before you talk about your book, I did have a question, like, what are one or two things that parents or we as youth leaders could model to show youth in a setting where we see them on a regular basis? How can we model that wonder? How can we model that cross-cultural interest in others?
Yeah, I want to actually answer that with something that you just said, is that we have to know something about the person first to respect them. You do not respect people you don't know.
Yeah.
You could from a distance, but that's, fangirling or something, right?
Yeah.
That's not really knowing someone, right? We do that with celebrities, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know them. And so in order to really respect someone, you have to know them. So that, to me, that could be modeled. I think, let me share this, and this is a cultural thing, but it's a good example. So there was this woman who went to go pick up her daughter from her friend's house. And I guess that she was there after school or whatever. And this family was well off. Both families well off. Okay. So the family that she went to go pick the daughter up from, they had a housekeeper, maid. I'm not sure exactly what her role was, but a helper, right? A domestic help. And so the daughter came out. She was probably a teenager. And the mom said, how was your day? And this, that, and the other. And the daughter said, I'll just use Jessica's name. Jessica said this, and Jessica was the domestic help. Well, the mother marched her back in the house and told her to apologize because she called her by her first name, because that was disrespectful in her culture. And she taught her daughter a lesson that day, is you don't do that, right? We've taught you this. And that, again, that's a cultural thing. Not everybody believes that, right? It's hierarchy, right, in some places, right? Power distance, right, we would call it. But the domestic help, you wouldn't think would be in a hierarchy, but they respect all people. They respected their elders. And you can go around the country in America and you can see that that's different in different cultures. So modeling respect in that way, or however your culture does it, would be a way to show the kids. Yes, I wrote a book called Cultural Competence, The Key to Loving One's Neighbor. And you can get that on Amazon, pretty much anywhere where you buy books. I like it's a workbook, actually. Oh. And so the idea, the vision, is that you would grab 6 or 8 of your friends or enemies, and you would sit frenemies, and your Facebook people, and you would sit in a room together for 8 sessions, however you want to do the sessions, once a week, once a month, whatever. And you would actually fill out the workbook together. So it has a segment on ecclesiology. It has a segment on theology. It has a segment on a lot of stuff. Cultural intelligence is in it. Unconscious bias is in it. There's a lot of things in it. And they have role plays. In the unconscious bias section, there's actually role playing. So you can role play, and then you can say what should have been done, what could have been done, what would I have done. And you're in a room now with people discussing these hot topics that people don't normally want to discuss. So I would highly encourage anyone who is interested in any of that to grab the book. And again, don't do it by yourself. It's not a workbook to be done by yourself. It's a workbook to be done with other people, even if you just grab a few people. But it is not to be done by yourself. That is not the point. So it's not just a book you pick up and read.
Do you like it for a church council? Is that something?
Yeah, well, that would be helpful. Yeah, I think so. But literally, it's for anybody.
A podcast group?
Yeah. A gardening club.
Ooh.
You go bowling together.
I'll be sending all my women's ministry ladies. Be like, okay, ladies, I got an 8-week thing for us.
Yeah. So, and that really is the vision for everybody, because I didn't want people to think this was for clergy.
Yeah.
See, we do everything for clergy. We don't do everything for everybody else. Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question? You said the word fangirl, and I'm thinking about the way of the world. Do you think that that's one of the issues that actually sits right now, is because I saw them on Instagram or Facebook, I think I know them? And so even they're good or they're bad, their breakups, their fallouts, they broke my heart because they did something I wouldn't have ever expected them to do. Is that one of the issues that we have that
Yes.
Who broke your heart, Alex?
What?
Tell us.
Taylor Swift. I thought she was going to wait for me. I'm over it, but it's fine. Mr. Kelsey, I wish you the best. But I think about that a lot, though, because I see my people telling me about people they don't know and missing the people in front of them at youth group. Telling me about so-and-so did this song, and my godson's 21. He tells me the whole backstory of this rapper. And then I go like, what? Tell me about your friend. And he's like, And I know he knows more, but the fact he knows so much about somebody he's never met and then is having a hard time telling me about the people he skis with.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to invite me back after I have these comments, but I'm going to have them anyway because I got the mic.
Yeah.
So yes, that's a problem, because we think we know people who we really don't know, and then we identify with those people. And so one of the things I preach a lot is that we as Christians don't know our identity in Christ Jesus. We identify as a bunch of different stuff in society that puts labels on us and names on us, but we really don't know that we are the beloved of God, that we've been bought with a price, that we are heirs and co-heirs with Christ Jesus. We don't know that stuff. We've forgotten that because we've identified with things in society, with celebrities and all of that, and now we think we're them. Or if we don't think we're them, we want to be them. We don't want to be like Jesus. We want to be like Taylor Swift. Right?
Just want to shake it off.
And and so that's a hot topic for me, because I really want people to be like Jesus.
Yeah. Well, gosh, we don't think we can get any better than that.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Stokes,
you.
for joining us.
Dr.
And you guys, I'm sure Paul, who does all of our wonderful magic to make this happen, will link her maybe.
Yeah.
And her resources, so you can find her and get all her resources, you guys. I love it.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Wow, what a fascinating discussion. We hope you enjoyed our discussion this month. Just before we go, a quick announcement and some reminders. By now, you should be able to access the videos and workshop clips and everything else from the Extravaganza. So make sure you log into your network account and check out the YouTube videos with all of your favorite speakers from the Extravaganza. We wanted to tell you that Martin's List has been refreshed. We've gone in, cleaned up the look, and we've done some work under the hood to make it faster and more efficient. Be sure to look there first for resources shared by your friends and colleagues. It's a great resource available to all of our Plus level members for free. Thanks to all of you who are members of the network. Your membership makes possible Third Tuesday Conversation, Oasis, Connect Journal, Formation Co-op, Martin's List, Extravaganza, and much more. If you're not a Plus level network member, we encourage you to join. Our memberships are what makes all of this possible. We're grateful to be a community that cares for this ministry. Thank you so much for listening. New podcasts will be released on the third Tuesday of every month. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can receive them as they come out and share with your friends. And finally, thanks to Paul Amlin, the 3TC producer, for all of his hard work. Have a great week, everyone, and look for our next episode being released on the third Tuesday next month. And this is Veronica signing off. And who else is signing off?
Alex LaChapelle signing off.
Jessica Noonan. We'll catch you next time, guys.